Florida State.
Noel Nation, welcome into another episode of the Renegade Rundown as Max Redmon has chosen the Seminoles. And we have lost James again off the thing. We've had a little technical difficulties here, but Max Redmon is a Seminole. How we feeling about it, man? This is one we went back and forth on. It was one of those deals where I just felt like if Florida State really wanted him, if they were going to make a commitment to him, it was going to be a Noel. The final two, of course, were Illinois and UCF. So big time grab there. The guy's actually a 3-star, but at 6'2", 190 pounds, I don't believe that's going to last,
Yeah, he plays down in with Cardinal Newman. We've had some good talent come out of it. I think we just got Ricky Knight in the last class from Cardinal Newman, I believe. Safety position of need. He fits once again, the measurables come out once again. 6 foot, 6.5 feet, something like that, 6'1", 185, 190 pounds. Gonna be versatile enough to play probably both safeties. Actually, I got some film too we can bring up later. But yeah, he just actually committed, and he committed with the Heritage jersey, which was a little unique because he tried a little switcheroo with us with the Illinois jacket on, and then he switched off of it and put the Heritage jersey on. But yeah, I'm excited. Continue to get good position players, good players at the DB room. That's not a position or a place or a room that we're actually concerned about when it comes to recruiting. Certain continues to clean it up.
Absolutely. We talked about it. It used to be the all whites kind of signified a silent commitment, or pretty much told you if the staff is handing out that jersey, it doesn't go out to anybody. You pretty much have to have one of those committable offers and be one of the guys at the top of their board. So his photo shoot was with, I believe he had the turquoise N7 uniform with white pants, if I'm not mistaken. So that's holding strong. Florida State, you get your first 3-star, but your 11th commit of the 2025 recruiting class. That'll probably move you up a couple spots in 247, but I'll go ahead and pull that. Oh, you didn't have that up there quite yet, but we'll get that film going in just a minute. Again, 6'2", 190 pounds. A guy that is a beast. It's a surprise that there weren't more top teams after him late, but I think, he had those offers. I think it's more of a function just of, I think it's been a pretty well kept secret, or not so well kept secret, that he was a Seminole for quite some time. And that's how you ended up with Illinois and USF. And I think that's pretty cool. I think giving them a shot, and not just throwing. A lot of times guys won't even be seriously talking to Florida State or Florida or whoever the case may be, and they'll throw a old wrinkled up hat up there just for show. So props to him for not doing that. But boom, we get our next commitment.
Awesome. I'm about to bring the process. There we go. Let me bring it up to the stage. And we are about ready. You can bring it up now, George. And then you can see
Max Redmon just committed. We went live literally as he was committing to the Florida State Seminoles out of Cardinal Newman High School, the same high school that we grabbed Ricky Knight out of last year. A kid who just got to campus is going to be an absolute freak there in the slot cornerback position. Max Redmon, more of a safety, but again, in that profile that, he's the perfect size and build for Patrick Surtain I'm sure he'll try him out at corner, and they'll work him all over the place.
Yeah. Good stick-to-itiveness. I saw a little bar hawk ability in him, making plays across the field. It's going to be interesting to see. Yeah, definitely. We'll see what he can do in the open field. I think he's a player that definitely probably have to be developed for a little while, probably about a year or two. So we probably see him hit the field maybe by his redshirt, maybe sophomore year. Be ready to hit the ground running. Or he may surprise, because sometimes those notable, quote unquote, as we say, 3 stars are actually a little bit underranked when you start looking at the film, because as you see, it depends on the projections. We saw our quarterback commit drop real quick. He finished, I think James had talked about it on Den Media, that he'd finished top 5 in the Elite 11, but for some reason dropped in the ranking. So I would say that sometimes those stars don't matter as much as we want them to want to believe they do. But he's a player that I can see being developed maybe about a year or two hitting the field.
100%. I think the stars will come around, but our kind of guest of honor tonight, our guy Clay Fink, the man with the plan, the long Dick Daddy from Cincinnati, Ohio, has made it in. He's with 247 Sports. If you don't know, if you haven't seen him on X or around, he's been kind of a meteoric rise here. I mean, I think less than a year. You've kind of been on the beat, but really, took off running. You really get a crack out of you. You're always cracking me up, and I find myself constantly like quote tweeting your stuff. I know James gets a kick out of you. He's going to join us in a little bit. Jen had an emergency for work, but thanks for joining us. How you feeling about Max Redmon getting the commitment? I think you might have gave me a little bit of a heads up on this one earlier today, but there he is. He's an old.
Yeah. I think the rating's a little bit deceptive. I don't think I don't know if he'll ever be a 4-star in the ranking process. He competes in a lot of track events, but none of them are like none of his numbers are super spectacular. So I think that might be the one thing that keeps him from being a 4-star. I think he's gonna like rise a lot though. Like I think he could be like maybe like a top 500 guy. He's got like very like long arms. He's very instinctive, physical. Yeah, he's pretty much what you look for in the Bucs safety at FSU. I've seen a lot of people talk about like Shaheem Brown as a comparison, and I think that's a pretty decent comparison. You could kind of say that a little bit about the 2026 pickup as well. But I think he's almost more of a tweener. Like he not a tweener. That you say that sounds bad. But he can do multiple things. He can do multiple things. Maybe some safety, some reps in the nickel. And he's just like a very smart football player. He's got a lot of tackles in his career, like a lot of production. But I think he can contribute on special teams early in his career. Yeah, I think he probably has like a day 2 ceiling in the NFL draft. But with a guy like the ranking, as much as I do think it's an under ranking, like there's far from a guarantee he reaches that ceiling. But I would say it's more likely than not that he's like a contributing defensive back at some point in his career at FSU. Like he has a lot of upside as a safety, even if he doesn't necessarily have like the 10-5 100-meter dash or something like that. He's a big dude. I mean, he has a 6'6" wingspan. So
yeah, that's crazy. Huge wingspan.
He's very interesting. I think if there's a guy that you're gonna break your 100% blue chip ratio with, I think this is a pretty good one to start it off with.
Yeah, with like it was one of those things we were talking about last week. It's like forget about the stars. It takes all kinds. If you got 10 out of 10, I think it's all right to sign 1 3-star with your 11
exactly,
and plenty of 4 stars coming afterwards. But I liked everything you said there, and it kind of went, to what Deshawn said. As far as the stars not matter so much on every single player. You mentioned a guy at safety in Shaheem Brown who was somewhere between like 1,200 and 1,500 across the different recruiting services. And you look at a guy who's pretty much just an NFL player, a day 3 player that came back to try to improve his stock. So Conrad Hussey right next to him, one of those guys that has first, second round potential. So you've got a good mix, and yeah, I definitely will contribute on special teams. I saw somebody commenting that he's just a thumper. You mentioned him possibly playing that Buck safety. Yeah, I agree. Big time stuff. So yeah, I'm fine with it. I'm fine with signing him. And Pat Surtain is one of these guys like. Kind of like I've been saying this about Alex Atkins for a couple of years. Like, if there's one person on the staff, I'm not going to question his evals or kind of anything. If he's going to take somebody, It's Pat Surtain. Since he's got here, he's pretty much walked on water. You got a top 5 secondary year one. You bring in a top 5 secondary in recruiting year one. This really helps clear up the board before we get to talking about, what we've got on the field and previewing kind of 2025. Now that we've got Redmon on board, that's our second DB, and it leaves several guys. I mean, we've got 4 or 5 guys left on the board, but as far as I know, and we've talked about, you're probably just going to sign 4 guys this year. So you look at it, you've got Snowfall, Onis Conanbanny, you got Boosie, Jabori Anton from Louisiana, you've got Ladarian Clarity, you've got Bryce Fitzgerald, who you just, I believe, kind of made a big run in his recruitment. That's 4 just off the top of my head. Jordan Young, the safety, just dropped his top 4. That's at least 5 right there. So I'm curious. We can start with Clay and go to Deshawn on how y'all are thinking of the board lines up now, or who's the next 2 to go. What you think?
Yeah. So Redmon is like, probably a safety only. Zay is a little bit of like, I think they'll almost certainly start him out at corner. I think he can kind of stay at corner. Maybe, if he has pro potential, maybe not at corner as much as safety, but I certainly think he can be a overwhelming physical corner at the college level. And if not, he has a lot of upside at safety. So you have like Ladarian Clarity. He probably has, I think he has some potential in the nickel, but more primarily a safety. And he has had some crystal balls and predictions from a few sites to FSU for a while. I saw that Ole Miss was trending, or that an Ole Miss insider placed a pick. I don't know. I guess it seems like those 2 teams have sort of emerged as like the top 2 recently. And then Bryce Fitzgerald is more of a safety, definitely more of a safety. He plays basketball with the Boozer twins. I learned recently. I didn't realize that. But so the big thing with him, I'm sure you all saw, was Tredarius Hughes is his teammate. So Tredarius had reported in his commitment interview that it seemed as if Bryce Fitzgerald was FSU was trending up for him after he committed. We caught up with them, and that seems to be the case. So that seems to be trending in the right direction. I would say Onis and Jabori set his commitment date. I don't really know what's
I believe it's the 20th.
So that'll be I think it's yes 20th, and then that's Miami, LSU, FSU. I don't think he has any predictions placed at all for him. And then
I know you follow Coach Dirt on the timeline. It's like,
Coach Dirt.
He's been putting out the hints for his DBs the past couple of days. It's like, if we're gonna get those 2, is what I'm saying. That would pretty much close it off, and that leaves all these other guys. It's like it seems like Patrick Surtain, whoever the 2 he chooses out of these 5, and you're right to break it down into safety and corner. I get that. It's just. Like you said, with Zay, he's going to play both. Some will specialize, but
right.
To cut you off, and I know Deshawn has some thoughts.
No, you're good. Yeah.
No. I just speak particularly. I finish up where you were, Clay, with Onis. I remember there was some early thoughts about Miami, and then I heard a little Tennessee. We're in it, and from what my understanding, it seems to be a little bit of a Tennessee FSU thing going on with Onis. As far as Jabari, I've been leaning a little bit more Miami at this point. If he doesn't, there's been a lot of questions if he'll recommit to LSU also. FSU still in it, but it leaning more either Miami or he'll stick and go back with Corey Raymond in LSU. But that's pretty much where I've been at it with those particular 3 prospects. Since you talked about the other ones, but the ones we've just touched on, that's where I'm at right now.
Yeah, I think the theme of the class is just like how so far you have 2 guys, and Zay is Zay Thomas has kind of slipped in the rankings a little bit recently. I think that's also maybe a speed thing, and some sites transitioning from corner to safety, how they rank him. But I As I said, I'm not particularly worried about the speed, but I think the theme is just chasing the fits. Not that FSU doesn't always chase fits and they're not always prioritizing that, but like, I mean, they got 3 top 10 to 12 corners in last year's class. No safeties, but there's Parker, Kirkland, Hussey, and 3 other guys at safety. You know, you can get guys that maybe aren't elite talents and going to be fighting, like you're going to have to fight for them down to the last minute. You can get guys who are just great fits. Not that a guy like Zay Thomas wouldn't be a take every year. I mean, he's a match made in heaven with Florida State. But
it's not a big DB class this year, and we've let the audience know that. We've talked about it a lot. I mean, we signed a huge class last year.
Exactly.
Clarity, I love Clarity. Like last year, he probably wouldn't even have been on the board just because of his, measurables. He's enough of an athlete. You spoke to it. He could possibly play in the slot because he's that good of an athlete, so you can get that offer. But and I hate to hammer on that, but that's kind of where I get to. It's kind of going to be on Patrick's shoes. It seems like for me, Clarity being a local kid here in Pensacola, if he goes to Ole Miss, it's just because the want to is there more. I know people will just say, "Oh, well, Ole Miss dropped a big bag."
I don't think that's
it. 90% of the time it's just the bag just happens to equal how much they want you.
Right.
So it's just one of those things.
Yeah, it's about how much possibly the position coach pushes, and they, as a staff as a whole, pushes for that particular prospect. So in Clarity's situation, it doesn't mean necessarily that anyone's cooled, but somebody might want him a little bit more, in that situation. It's just like the other prospects that we mentioned. It's certain ones we can afford to be selective here, because we took, as you said, Clay, we took so many high-end defensive backs last year. We do not have to chase every high-end guy this year. You take a year off and then you come back next year, which will be a bigger class, and you start to look for that high-end defensive back next year.
Right.
Yeah, it's something we've talked about a lot here. Florida State just doesn't sign 28, 30 guys and check off 5 DBs, 5 O-line, 4 D-line. That's just not how they do it. They kind of get what's available. They're going to sign 20, 24 guys, a lot of DBs this time. It's all about the trenches this class, add in the portal. It's just so many ways you can fill holes and even get freshmen that maybe you had your eye on, like a Juice Cryer that you get to bring over at linebacker.
Right.
And when you talk about the ability to nitpick, I wanted to go DBU preview, do a little defensive preview while we have you on here, because I know you're a big fan of Azaria Thomas. I am as well, and there's a lot of guys we can go through. Quandarius Jones, already mentioned Hussey and Brown, but we can start there with Azaria Thomas. You give me your best rundown, draft preview on him. How fired up for you for his season?
Yeah,
there we go.
You're back.
We got you back.
I think it's interesting with him because some fans might be a bit surprised this offseason to see like the lack of draft love, and I guess a lot of the all conference teams haven't been released yet, but things like that, love for Azaria Thomas. And he didn't start. He has one career start. And that's like the thing to remember, which is kind of crazy that he's basically the consensus best player on the team. I mean, this is like a term thrown around, but like he pretty much checks like every box. And it makes him a very consistent player. I mean, the first day of spring practice, it was pretty evident that AZ was like just a little bit different from everybody else. There was no adjustment period getting back into it like right away. I don't really know if I saw him give up anything more than like a comeback route for the first like 3 days of practice. Like he's always in position. He seems to be like looking for the ball a little bit more this year. So that's not usually really someone he prioritizes his play style. But I mean, he's got a huge frame. He's what the prototype for corners look like. He's not Pat Surtain Jr., but he's not too far off physically. And I mean, if you follow him on basically any social media platform, it's pretty clear that he checks all of the mental aspects of the game. That dude is locked in.
He's got his stuff together. There's no doubt about it.
He does.
He was. I mean, he was a borderline five-star coming out. He wasn't a flip, but he's one of those guys we got at the last second. I'm gonna mention the guy we lost right before we got him, or whatever that year. He's not a guy that redshirted. He came in as a freshman, showed flashes of greatness, did the same thing last year, even more. And James, as we were throwing you up here, Clay was saying, like, you know, maybe not so much hype. He's a little undersold in the national media because he hadn't started. But that's the thing about FSU, and when you get it rolling at a place like that, a guy cannot start and be ready to step in and just be a beast like that. But we can kind of put a halt in the DBU discussion in the 2025 preview and let you comment on Max Redmon before we get back into it if you want it. Of course, as he has committed our first 3-star. Up, you're muted.
Muted.
You were saying you want me to comment on Max, or
yeah, we've all went through it, but if you wanted to,
I mean, here's the thing. After my rant yesterday about recruiting rankings, I have no idea. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. But either you can play college or you can't. And that's just me being for real. Now, there are guys that are typically better, but that's where development scheme come in. One thing I will say is I've been saying this since he got there. Pat Surtain has a type. It's clear. He likes tall, like he likes some long, great hips and can run. So, and then this guy kind of checks those boxes. Even though I'm wearing my Bulls lacrosse shirt, I am biased. We could have had a tall, lanky guy that can run who was a ball hawk at safety, but we chose to not go after him. And down south came up north and brought him there. And we went down south and brought somebody up north. So I'll go to what Pat likes. And now I think about guys like KJ Kirkland from out of Jacksonville, who is a 6'3" guy, who's a fast guy who can run. Thinking of the other guys that we have. So one thing I will say is that they recruit frames and body types that can be developed, and everybody can't. Everybody you don't need to bring in to be able to start day one or play. But I think this kid is a playmaker, and I think he's going to be fine. I like it. I'm sitting here thinking in my head, like, if this was the direction we were going to go, we could have made it a little easier. But I will admit, that is my bias coming in.
Yeah, no, I agree. I was doing the same thing, and I feel the same way about, Hilton. I was saying the same thing about Clarity. I think ultimately you'll probably end up at an Ole Miss just because of the want and the push. But, we're after 6 guys we've got on our board, and they're probably going to take 2 more. So it's one of those things that has us tight. But if anybody gets a pass and you kind of just shake your head and go, okay, if that's who you want, that's who you go. It's Pat Surtain.
Here's something else, and this has worked in recruiting before. And I only know because, shout out to my brother CJ, his brother is heavy in Clemson. He's a Clemson legend, and he works there. And Clemson has a strategy. Their coaches get to pick whatever they want to pick, and whether it's 5, 4, 3, no start, whatever, it's first come, first serve to the commitment table. So if that's the way that we're kind of going with our stuff, and Pat saw guys that he liked, and this is one of those guys that, you know what, considering we just coached the defense that before the Georgia game gave up 3 passing touchdowns, who am I to judge anything that they say? Like, if he wants them and he thinks he can do that again, God bless. Bring him on board. But it is messing up our damn blue chip ratio. Excuse me. The Bud Elliott blue chip ratio. Exact. This is on the video.
Right. The BCR. Yeah, it takes it down to 90-something%. But yeah, I agree. I think we're all pretty much in agreement on Max Redmon. Welcome to the class. Makes our 11th player. and regardless of his position, that'll definitely help us on 247, as it has a little bit more of a, how to explain it, but your total players, it helps you pretty good. You have to have a certain, once you get to 20, between, like, you get to a certain point and it stops adding points for each particular player. But up until that point, even 3 stars will add you 5-10 points here and there. Unlike on 3, which Florida State's already 10 point in the top 10, because they don't do it that way. They go off of a 1 to 100 point thing. It's all crazy. Like we said, stars matter, but they don't matter. We trust the staff. But yeah, getting back to the DB room that we have, and while we're able to be so selective, we were talking about Isaiah Thomas and what a freak he's going to be. I've long thought he's going to end up being a first-round pick and be one of the best DBs we've had since Jalen Ramsey. Not saying he's going to be Jalen Ramsey, because that's not fair. Nobody will be him. And if we do see it, we'll know it. They'll be talking about possible Heismans and stuff for a defensive player. So we'll hold that talk. But he will be damn good. And this might be a bit of a hot take. Being we just sent Jerry Jones and Renardo Green to the NFL. You had Akeem Dent signing a undrafted free agent contract and things of that nature. But I truly believe the defensive backs are better this year. Like, it, to me, everywhere I look, you got year 2 of Fentrell Cypress. He's going to be a lot better. As much as I like Renardo Green and he ended up going in the 3rd round, I like Isaiah Thomas better. If he can take that step forward and be that guy, I like him the upside better. Everybody that's been watching the Renegade Report knows, because we've been doing this since Conrad Hussey committed. I'm super high on him. I think his ceiling is the highest of any safety we've had since like Derwin James and LaMarcus Brutus were back there playing. So you bring back Shaheem Brown for another year. He's an NFL player. You've got Q Jones out there coming off the bench, ready to jump up. But after my little rant, I guess we can start with Deshawn and go around the room. We can start with Q Jones or whoever. But
Shaheem was a 3-star as well, if I remember.
Yeah,
yes,
like number 1,500 or something.
My take on Azarie, I don't do comps a lot, but if I could think of a player from the recency, PJ Williams I can look at as a possible little pro comp going down the road. All the gifts outside of him, I'm interested in seeing. I would ask you, Clay, and James also. Edwin Joseph. That's a name that I'm interested in throwing out and wondering and where he is in his role. And what do you have your opinion on him, Clay, and his progression?
Yeah, I would say the interesting thing with Edwin is the way I distinguished him in the group of Q, Rawls, Edwin, and I guess the other safeties that came in that class were freshmen last year. Is that Edwin is the guy who plays the nickel. He's the slot guy. And he did that a lot in spring practice, I thought. But I charted the spring game after, and he played like 2 or 3 snaps in the slot. And we did also notice that he was playing some more outside throughout the spring. But I think he had 2 pass breakups in the spring game, and they both came outside. One on Hakeem. The other, not a pass breakup, but the drop to
Williamson.
Yeah, in the end zone.
I still feel that one. That was a great.
But that was great. That was great coverage. I don't think he quite got his hand on it, but that was perfect coverage. So he is interesting to me because I had kind of penciled in Rawls as that maybe 4th corner. That's not behind. I think Q kind of he's taken a step. Like he's something. I didn't see Azarie last spring, but it sounds like he's not too far behind from maybe where he was. That like it sounds like some people in the staff or just around watching practice seem to think he's on that trajectory, and so he's pretty. I think he's gonna have a similar year. And then Rawls and Edwin will probably, I guess, battle for that 4th outside corner. And I still think Edwin will likely be a factor in the nickel as well because he is talented, and he looked really good, especially to close out the spring. So, yeah.
Without a doubt. I think Q's on that same track. And I know you've got some thoughts. And while we got our guy, Clay, if you have any questions or whatever, I know I kind of steer this thing around, but we're just having fun, man. We'll just have a conversation about whatever comes up.
But AZ is I'll tell you how good AZ is. When I went to practice his freshman year, actually his first spring ball practice, me and my guy CJ, we both were like, yo, who's the Jalen Ramsey lookalike here? And like, who is this kid? And I mean, that's him fresh off of high school. So and a lot of people, again, and I get it, it's the mindset that comes from us playing video games. Not just, there's nothing wrong with that, but like coming from Street Smith magazine, you read the depth chart, and a lot of schools play their starters. So you play 11, whereas we play 25 on defense with a rotation. So like if you're in that 2 deep, you're going to get a lot of reps. So and we're returning a lot of production in Cypress and in AZ. So I think those are two guys. And trust me, the internet can't have enough debates about is Fentrell Cypress good or is Fentrell Cypress not good. What I say is I don't give a damn who it is. 3 passing touchdowns on a year ain't no ducks back there. Like that's very difficult. Now there are some situations where you have a guy who played zone, a heavier zone scheme when he was at Virginia, and you're coming to Florida State where we run we run man. Don't believe me. Again, I have some guys who would tell me a bunch of other different things, and what I just do is pick up the phone and ask. And I remember asking nephew, I was like, nephew, man, what kind of zone do y'all run? And he was like, zone. I said, man, I wish we ran zone. He's like, I'm in man coverage every damn play. He's like, I'm tired. So, but I think those are but again, we got those guys, and you look at Kadarius Jones, you look at what you guys were talking about with Edwin Joseph, Jabril Rawls, Kai Bates. What can't I think of my guy? Just called me. He reminds me of like my old uncle. Well, my old
Lester.
uncle.
Lester.
Yeah, Charles Lester. Just again, a bunch of guys are going to get a bunch of action that are going to grow up very fast, with the benefit of having an incredible front seven that we haven't had in quite some time. Regardless of how you feel about the linebacker room, those the front four, the starting ones are amazing. And I also believe that I don't think our linebackers are as bad as what people. Now, are they? Is Ernie Sims back there? Is Derek Brooks back there? Is Marvin Jones coming back? Hell no. None of those guys are coming out of the tunnel. But those guys are just also some of the best to ever play college football. We still have some quality guys on there with a defensive coordinator that could just dial that shit up. I mean, again, as anybody knows, me and my family are unapologetic fans of Adam Fuller. We've been defending Adam Fuller before it was cool. So, but yeah, so I mean, I think that secondary is interesting. And again, adding Shaheem Brown, adding Ashland, which a lot of people seem to not talk about a lot. Adding my guy and Brown. I mean, even though his brother plays at the University of Miami, he's not a corner. It's kind of like we got a guy to come in that could give us some good duty, that we could take Kevin Knowles and put him in a more natural position for himself, which is at corner, and he's not a safety. So I like it, man.
That's another thing, similar to Fentrell Cypress. Like, people have completely given up on Knowles and really talking all this shit. Like, when he was forced to play out of position, when Cooper didn't want to do it, he transferred. Like, he did what he had to do for the team.
And he's back.
So now Cooper's back.
I will say Knowles bothers me. Knowles did make me mad, though. Kevin did make me mad. If Kevin would have just done his job and cut the receiver off, as opposed to trying to go for the damn interception, the game is a blowout, and we don't have Miami fans in our ear talking this trash like the game was as close to what it's closer than what it really was. At no point ever were we like not in control of that game. But I'm sorry, I hate reading the comment section, George, but I just don't like untruths, and I don't like people talking about things that they just don't know what they're talking about.
Oh yeah, there's
Top
somebody
of the offensive line suck.
Offensive
It'd be
line
one
right
of the
now.
top. I just don't like. Is it like is it like this group chat that I'm not aware of, where we just find a coach that we don't like today and we just make up imaginary truth like to talk about it? You don't have 5,500 yards of total offense and your line sucks. It's impossible to have that. It just doesn't work that way. Like, that's just not the way the game is played. You can't have you can't have a quality run game, a quality passing game, and no offensive line. That's like having a six-pack with no spine. Like, you know what? I'm going to walk around. I'm going to be the strongest man in the world, but I got a loose spine. It makes no. I'm sorry, just
yeah,
it doesn't make sense, man.
If I remember correctly, wasn't the line also a semifinalist for the blocking trophy, or they were a candidate for it last season, right?
Yes,
I believe so. So what are we doing here? We getting the production.
Free game, guys. Free game, my big game.
Literally
enjoy football.
Strepo, like, not getting catches. He had 0 targets, or he might have had targets, but he had 0 receptions for 0 yards. They did a 3-minute video all the times he was open against air on run plays and shit. Like,
well, when you see it, the quarterback's looking in a different direction because the defense did their job. He's got pressure in his face. Like, again, it only works in the video game. The only way you can make that throw is in the video game. But I mean, it just, again, my problem is that I really like football, and I really watch a lot of it, and I really played this game, and I really don't know what people are seeing sometimes. And I want to understand, like, because I love to understand where people are coming from, but when I can't understand it, it starts to make my balls itch, and it just bothers me, man. That's all. But I'm gonna give you guys some free game. 13-0 is not done very often.
Yep.
Right. Winning conference championships, not an easy feat. If it was an easy feat, everybody would do it.
Exactly.
Learn to enjoy what you're going through, because it could always go back to the 5 years where it stunk. And I don't want to go back to all that, man. Just enjoy it. Ride. We're not gonna be able to throw the 50-50 ball or throw this and throw that. Right now we are. So enjoy it right now. Which, again, we did not live and die by a 50-50 ball by definition. A post is not a 50-50 ball. A go route by definition is not a 50-50 ball. Now, a back shoulder, a jump ball, maybe, but I promise you that's not what we were just throwing.
He's throwing 50 balls all year. He'd have 15, 20 interceptions, but he didn't. Yeah, what, 4, 7, something in that neighborhood? Yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, and even if we were just winning a lot of them. I wish they wouldn't drop it as much, though. Hopefully we get that fixed.
Yeah, it'll be a fun year. There's no doubt. We're not going to do a super long show, and I believe Chris is doing a show at 8, so James has only got a few more minutes with us. Okay, 8:15. So another 10, 15 minutes, and we'll take it off. I could throw I'll throw the old phone line up there. If anybody's got any questions for anybody on the panel, now be the time to do that. I guess we can let Clay, the kind of guest of honor. Is there anything on your mind? Is there anything you were wanting to talk about? Anything that sticks out? I know you have a lot of fun with analytics and stuff with the team. We can stick with DBs or just whatever, not to put you on the spot. We could always go to something else if you just want to keep rocking.
I think linebacker. I feel like I haven't talked too much about linebacker. I mean, I think I've posted a couple times. I'm higher on DJ Lundy as a pro than some of my coworkers, some fans. And I've talked to Brendan about that, and I've determined that it's most likely because I didn't watch him early in his career. And it's not really talked about much because he wasn't ever like a full-time starter as a true freshman, but he sort of suffered from the Darius Washington, Mo Smith, Rob Scott type of fate, playing very early. And not to say that he wasn't, he's a very successful athlete in high school, but I mean, he was playing offense, he was playing defense. And he played early, and he played quite a bit early. So to see him get exploited as a coverage linebacker, like, yeah, I mean, that's not super surprising, I guess. And as someone who wasn't, watching those games at the time and just came in this year and saw him admittedly in more like obvious run situations, he's still like he still showed a lot of prowess as a coverage player. Like I think that's definitely an underrated part of his game. And then I think Cam Riley is like, I think he's a very interesting player. So not the tweener, but like a good way tweener. Sort of similar to Amari Gaynor. The big thing with Cam Riley is you see the measurables 6'5", 245, and you kind of, I mean, it's crazy to say, but even 245 is pretty heavy for a linebacker. 6'5" is obviously insane height for a linebacker. You think he's a downhill run stopper, but he's not. He's actually sort of not overly physical. I would say he's very, very good at using his length to make tackles that a lot of players would not be able to make. And he's really strong in coverage. Like, he's a very strong coverage player, very good against tight ends. He had multiple reps in 2 straight years against Brock Bowers that were very impressive. And then you have Blake Nicholson, who, he's been spoken for. He's a very, very impressive athlete, similar to, he'll play the will linebacker behind. I guess I really don't know who will start it. Weak side linebacker, but Cam Riley, Blake, and Sean Murphy will probably be in the mix there. And we'll just see how that plays out. But I imagine Cam Riley, I would expect they'll get a little bit creative with him and use him in different situations that maybe they wouldn't have done as much with the other guys. They would always give some reps to all the linebackers in pass rush, like as a stand-up end every practice. They did it a few times in the spring game as well. They did it with Blake primarily in the spring game, but I think that was something that Riley did a lot on his Auburn tape. I think that's something he can do a lot at FSU. It's not something they did a ton last year on defense, but running like the bare fronts, getting linebacker down there as a stand-up edge. And then Cryer. Cryer's more of like the middle linebacker. And, Lundy is far and away the like top dog at that room. So that sort of caps his opportunity. But I would say like Cryer, of the guys we watched this spring, like he was probably the most consistent performer outside of DJ Lundy. He gets it. Like he's just like a very intelligent player, like knows what he has to do, doesn't really make that many mistakes ever. He's not, going to run down the field and chase you down like Blake Nicholson or anything like that. And he's not huge, but Cryer, like when he gets on the field, like you don't have to worry about your most experienced linebacker stepping off the field in DJ Lundy, because you have Cryer coming in, and like despite not having played a lot, I think he's like wise beyond his years is a good way to describe it. Like I asked Randy Shannon about that after a practice this spring, because he said that Cryer transferred very late last summer. I think like 3 to 4 weeks before the first game. And he didn't think he would even be able to get him out on special teams for the first couple of weeks. And he got him out on special teams the first 3 games, which was a surprise. And then he got him reps in the Southern Miss game, which he didn't think he was going to be able to do. And I kind of put him on the spot. I was like, does that like stand out, like the immediate intelligence and maturity, like in your career, the linebackers you've worked with, like where does that rank? And he was like, it's hard to place a rank, but it's like it's on par with the greats. Like his ability to like just settle in instantly to a new environment. I'm sure it was a super chaotic summer for him last year, enrolling at Northwestern, everything that went down, having to find a new school after, I'm sure his whole family went through celebrations and whatnot for his commitment. But it all sort of it was all capped off with the Georgia game. And, I don't think I ever ended up posting the clips of the game, but he might have had the best performance of any defender for FSU in that game. He was really consistent, really sound, and it did not look like he was a freshman.
I blocked that whole. I've never went back and looked at that
film.
Yeah. One time, that's over. But yeah, Cryer. No. Most people they know he's a transfer and they think he's like a redshirt freshman or a sophomore, but no, he's just a true freshman last year. Super wide. You said something about Cam Riley, like he's Pat Payton size. It's crazy.
Yeah.
You would think, really maybe he's more of a stand-up linebacker on the edge, this and that. But no, he's a guy that plays out in space. That's his thing. He's more of a finesse guy.
You go watch this film at Auburn, you see him, what his height, especially obviously if we're playing man or we're playing some kind of man with the zone underneath type of thing, he's going to alter throws. You actually saw Carson Beck have to throw it higher to get over him. And with our defense and the way we play, you can see guys breaking on the ball and making plays like that. But also just the different ways that we blitz. So I have a really good thing on my YouTube channel where Kalen DeLoach 2 times goes over that blitz at Clemson and how they call the blitz on the field. So it's not a sit. So you don't really know. We actually ran that same call. And I was talking about this Deshawn in the spaces, but the guy wouldn't listen. We actually ran that blitz where we came from front side with the corner, and they ran an angle route, and they were able to dump it. And Klubnik noticed it, dumped it off. But we ran it again, and D'Lo just kind of delayed it. But we're able to blitz from home and get there. So, but Clay brought up a really good point that I agree with them on. We can't get lost in the past, right? The past is the past. DJ Lundy has gotten better every year.
Every year.
DJ Lundy came in a little powder, a little puffy. Like he
can improve. You can improve as an athlete,
right? And one of the first things I noticed when I went to one of the practices. It's like, oh shit! I said, is DJ covering somebody? I was like, oh, I didn't think he could do. But in that defense, and again, just from observations, and you will use the 2 prototypes. We got Tatum Bethune. Tatum Bethune is not a guy we necessarily want to cover. But he was a guy that could come downhill and thump. D'Lo, probably a bigger thumper than people gave him credit for. But I remember, because again, I happen to like the DeLoaches. I remember what was said about the DeLoaches, and people didn't necessarily want D'Lo around after the first 2 years that he was at Florida State. Then he became a fan favorite. D'Lo's the guy that was better in coverage than Tatum Bethune. So what you're going to do with a DJ Lundy is you partner him with somebody, even if it's DJ and Cam. Cam's more your coverage guy. DJ's the guy that's going to be there to stop the run, but he can't cover adequately. And he's going to be your thumper. I do believe it's not I do believe. I believe he's got an NFL grade to him because I asked. And I have people that I can talk to because I cover the NFL. So we were discussing these things. So DJ is good. And I also bring these things up. DJ Cam, Blake Cryer, Graham is why people don't like it. Graham is serviceable. And I'm sure I'm missing somebody that I can't think of right now.
Sean Murphy.
We run a 4-2-5. How many linebackers do you want? Like I just gave you 3 deep that we could that's serviceable that's going to come in there. I do agree we need to recruit a little bit better. We shouldn't be missing some of these guys. But there's
Ty Jackson that we just got moved up on his board.
One thing I know about Randy is the goal is to win football games. Randy can develop and Randy can coach. And as long as Randy is developing and coaching and we're winning football games, I'm just going to side-eye recruiting a little bit and hope we get better. But at the end of the day, my goals are to be able to go to enjoy football games. And I only enjoy winning. Last time I checked, I know they're doing a lot of construction inside of Doak Campbell, so I haven't been there as of late, but I don't think there are any banners for number 1 recruiting classes. I've never noticed that. I've only seen the ACC championships and the national championships. So again, I understand we want We want to troll our imaginary friends that we'll never see on social media. And that is fun. I enjoy doing that from time to time. But the goal is to win games. I don't want to whiff in wins. I'll whiff in recruiting as long as I don't whiff in wins.
From the field, yeah. I think Riley gives us something that's a little unique that allows Fuller to be versatile even more on the defensive scheme and formations because of his height and size. And I did see some things he did at Auburn too, in rushing and passer as well as coverage. So at first I was a little intrigued by the size and then a little off about it because I was looking at today's linebacker as 6'5", 240 isn't the kind of linebacker that we kind of use in today's game, maybe 15 years ago. But then I get to thinking about it, I'm like, okay, you could have different packages where he can line up in so many different places and he brings so much different versatility. So it's going to be real interesting to see how Fuller uses these pieces more so, because the floor, even though we look at it and we're saying, as you said, James, we could get better at what we're getting from the high school level, but where we are at the room as a whole is a lot better than it was just 2 years ago. We're going to miss Bethune. We're going to miss D'Lo, but overall, we may not have that one big guy like we had with D'Lo making the big play, but overall with the room, it is much healthier than it has been in last few years.
Here's my thing with Riley versus D'Lo. So I would say they're both, and we would all say they're both more coverage versus run stopping. Riley wasn't used as much as a pass rusher in 2023. He was more in 2022 when he was like the full year starter, and he was very, very he was efficient. Like, it was a very low snap count, but he had like 11 pressures on that very low snap count. D'Lo, I mean, I think he is going to be very valuable on special teams in the NFL. He's an outlier, like literally the lightest, one of the shortest linebackers in combine history. And he plays above his weight. Like, let's be clear. Like, it's like D'Lo, but my point is, D'Lo had 7 sacks last year. That was the most since like 1993 or something like that for FSU linebacker. Now you have a guy who has experience lining up at defensive end on third downs. He's 6'5", 240. So I don't know. I mean, I'm just curious how the pass rushing, like blitzing, is different this year and what Fuller cooks up. And then you also have Blake behind him, who's like, I mean, what, 22, 23 miles per hour? Like, fast. So,
and that was my biggest thing, my biggest criticism of Randy. It's like the Loesch, Bethune, they're great. It's like, but it's like when you have all the same quote unquote player build, it was like no matter what happens, well, you're stuck in that 4-2-5. That's what you're gonna run. You can't come out and send 4 linebackers out there for whatever particular thing. I like having 6'5". I like having Sean Murphy now, somebody that's a little taller, more athletic. I like having the different options, and it's going to be a lot of fun seeing Sean Murphy lined up on a blitz, Cam Riley standing up over here. Maybe he drops into the coverage and then send a safety. It's going to be a ton of fun as we get here close to the end. Really appreciate everybody for joining us. After this, Spear Addicts is going live. James is going to hop out and go over there, so go check that out at Spear Addicts on YouTube. Make sure you're following Clay on X as far as Deshawn Adams 18. What is your actual X? Clay _Fink?
Yeah. Yep.
Bam. So I got it right there. Follow him over at Clay _Fink. The big book drive that's going on, we got to make sure we'll give you a rundown of that in Tallahassee, in Jacksonville, in Atlanta, even doing some stuff. I think you're sending some stuff down one more place, if I believe I might have left out there.
Sending back to Atlanta. We're actually July 20th is the first one in Orlando. So we'll have that going. Shout out to the Seminole Club of Orlando. We got a bunch of people trying to come out doing that. I think Lake Manola High School is supposed to be trying to do some things with us. But the Tallahassee, my birthday weekend, happens to also be a big recruiting weekend. The July 27th, we'll have that going there. Bond Elementary School out in the hood. Love it. Shut the whole hood down. Then we'll do my annual football camp. We'll have some of the football guys will be over there working the football camp. That's the 27th and the 28th. My birthday is actually on the 26th. And then Jacksonville will be the next weekend. We'll have our book bag drive. I forgot. It's out east somewhere. I forgot the name of the elementary school. But all of that's my pin suite. You can check all those things out. And then my football camp will be huge there at Edward Waters University. We'll be doing a parent and coaches symposium. So you can learn about what classes your kid needs to be able to take in middle school in order to graduate early, which is one of the de facto prereqs if you're going to be a top prospect. And I happen to know some of the top prospects in the city, so they're going to be giving back on their Sunday. They're going to be working with the kids, doing a whole bunch of stuff with that. I think we've raised $30,000 right now, so about 70 short. We'll get to it though. Again, whatever we don't get, I write the check for. I've been blessed in media the way I cover it to be able to make a couple dollars. I just don't want to spend all my money to giving the book bags away. But the more people that give, the more we'll give back to the community. So the goal is to get 4,000 book bags and 4,000 families fed, and probably have about 500 between both football camps. That'd be cool. We don't do fan day anymore. So, but if you come to the give, like I think I said on your show, give fucking $36 and come get a damn autograph by some of the football players. Don't come there.
$36 buys a book bag. You don't. If you can pay for half a book bag, whatever, anything.
I know what it look like, man.
It's money sign MFTK 36.
Yeah,
money sign MFTK 36. If you want to donate on cash.
I appreciate that, Clay, man. I really appreciate the money that you donated, man. It doesn't matter how much you donate. You can donate 36 cents, and that's closer to the goal than whatever, man. But I do. Really appreciate you you donating that, man. I know what it's like to be a college student, man. It ain't like you rolling in the dough over there. So
no, I'm rolling dough. I'm working at the pizza shop, actually. Matter of fact.
And also, Ed Lemmick says that his company, the Luna Coffee in Pensacola, wants to buy some book bags. So we'll get that set up. You can get up with James. Or just it's a money sign MFTK 36. You can find him on.
Hit me up offline, Ed, and I'll be in Pensacola speaking to the Pensacola Club August something. I don't know.
Let me know, man. Let me know. We'll link up.
I know they asked me to come over. I came over before. I like the Pensacola Club. They're right there. Downtown Pensacola is cool.
Oh, yeah. Grady, Seville. It's a nice little setup down there.
But I do, like I said, man, giving props to the youngin', man. Keep doing your thing, Clay, and I love the way you interact with the fan base and you troll.
Yeah.
And you keep it, but you keep it to the facts. So it's nothing. It's not a personal troll. It's a troll with some weight behind it, man.
That's right.
I appreciate that. And don't be afraid to have your own opinion. And as I always say on my show, when presented with new evidence that is contrary to what you believe, one would be a fool to not change your belief. So, like, if something is different, you got to be able to change it, man. So,
that's good stuff.
Yeah, man. But let me go over here. I don't want to get yelled at by Chris. But I appreciate you, George, for letting me plug the book bag drive again. Make sure y'all go like the Renegade Rundown. Hit the subscribe button. Make sure you hit like. They're going to continue to push stuff out here, and again, it's alternative media. It's a really, really good show. I love it. Shout out to Deshawn. Shout out to Clay.
Appreciate
shout
it.
Shout out to George.
Appreciate you, Clay. As always, damn fullback. Always welcome on the Renegade Rundown.
And thank you, James. I just want to say thank you and welcome to the OG club.
I talked to my daughter. Says she's like, "You're old." I'm like, man. That's why I said your mom likes me. Actually, she might not. I don't think she likes me anymore. But whatever the point is, at one point I was young enough to bag your mom. That's how I talk to my kids. So, but all right, guys.
All right, James.
Definitely get over there as we wrap it up here. They're about to get started in a few minutes over there at Spear Addicts on YouTube with our buddy Chris and James, of course. They're always great, and we always appreciate them coming on, man. How'd you like it, man? We got you on here your first time. We got to keep it going. People were fucking with you about, excuse my language, about your camera moving around. We're gonna have to send you a tripod for coming on the show, man. We appreciate it. No, it was great, dude.
I need usually I'm somewhere else, but my dad is doing some work at the desk downstairs, so we're going with the phone.
We damn sure appreciate it, man.
Appreciate it a lot, Clay.
For sure. It was fun.
Yeah, we chopped it up into space, man. It was nice to finally get to put a picture, face to the voice, man. And you keep doing what you're doing, man. And I love your, like James said, your takes, because when they backed by facts and statistics, it pretty much shuts down any of the other trolls and all of that. So I really appreciate
that.
Yes, sir.
Like we cover FSU, but like James played. Okay, you know, I pay for Battles End. You know, I'm hoping to be a booster soon. Deshawn is a giant fan. So like we're invested. I try to be extremely professional, you know, call a spade, but you have a different ability to not let stuff get to you. Kind of, you know, people don't know you're a little bit of a Kentucky fan. You end up at Florida State. You're not quite as indoctrinated, but you appreciate it. So yeah, you're able to see stuff from an outside perspective that we would never even think to look at. But it's like, you get them. People really enjoy it, man. So definitely keep giving it to them on Twitter for sure with the Twitter players. If there's anything, you know, anything you want to plug, I know you do some articles and stuff here and there on 247.com. Now's the time, dude. Like I said, we appreciate you coming on, and you're more than welcome anytime.
Yeah, I would just say Knowles247.com, 247.com. Whole lot of good stuff coming, recruiting season heating up. I was on vacation. I'm back now. It should have some more content coming soon. So,
boom! You heard it here first. I can't wait, dude. We're like 45 days now.
Yeah.
I'm
we're very close
to get here to be at Doak Campbell Stadium, running into everybody, filming content. This year's going to be big for a lot of people. For the Knowles, it's going to be a lot of fun, man. Yeah, and Deshawn has a YouTube channel of his own. We can plug that thing and get out of here, I reckon.
Yes, it's Double D's Let's Talk Ball podcast. You find it on YouTube. Also, D's Corner, DSCORNER, D's Corner. We touch on and talk about all your NFL, and we're also working in a gaming podcast. That's D's Double D's Let's Talk Gaming. That's on Twitch, Cowboy Dame, COWBOIDAME 7819 on Twitch. Thank you.
Boom. I love it. Well, thanks again, Clay. Of course, we had James on. Max Redmon is a Seminole. Florida State lands their 11th commitment. Since we were talking about Kalen DeLoach, I might as well hit it with, I don't know if this has the FSU versus everyone on it or it's just Kalen DeLoach, but I think it's a Clemson play. We'll leave on that note, and we'll see you guys on, what's today? Tuesday. We'll see you on Friday. With Doug Rohan and possibly somebody else. I don't want to tweeze it because we're not sure, but July 12th is a big day. Clemson has their suit. There's all kind of rumors. So we'll see you then.
Thank you.